Yes, another tower company this morning, and we are basically the new kid on the block, if you will. And first of all, I would like to say good morning to you, as was mentioned, Badia Basabacha, who is the head of sales at Vantage Towers, cannot be here today on short notice, so I'm filling in for her today. And as mentioned, I'm the head of legal and regulatory strategy Germany. That does not mean that I replaced the entire presentation and will deliver a 20-minute boring legal lecture. So there's no need to look for your nearest exit. Bear with me. I think we can do this together. But in any case, I want to talk about the critical role of TowerCos, specifically Vantage Towers, in achieving an efficient, sustainable 5G connectivity for our society. And as mentioned, we are fairly new. Vantage Towers is, right from the start, one of the leading European tower companies in Europe. We are operating in 10 European markets with 82,000 towers in those markets, and Germany is our largest market, where we have roughly 20,000 towers. Vantage Towers was created at the end of 2020, carved out from the Vodafone Group, and we went public in March of 2021 with a successful IPO at Deutsche Börse, and we also managed in a quite short time frame to become part of the MDAX and also the TechDAX. And beyond these highlights, I would like to show you a short video to give more color to our ambition and also mission. Spoiler alert, it's not a TikTok, so I hope you stay anyway, but let's give it a go. I hope this works. Oh, it does, okay. All right, and now I want to expand on some of the topics you have just seen, and let me start by sharing with you some of the ways in which we create values for our customers, because that is front and center for us. We are profoundly customer-oriented and committed to creating long-term value for our customers for all industries, from all industries. So how do we do that? Well, we ensure that both the most remotely located rural communities and the most densely populated urban centers in Europe can benefit from the best-in-class connectivity that our infrastructure brings. And in this direction, we are building our new sites and helping our customers to enhance operational efficiencies, and I will talk about this in a minute. As mentioned, we are operating in 10 European countries, and we are leveraging our market's vital know-how and diverse experience to provide the best solutions for our customers. For me, as a lawyer, I always like to look also to the different regulatory and legal frameworks we see in other member states, and I think there's a lot we can learn from them. I will touch on that also in a minute. But I think, as Mr. Jakob Feuerborn already mentioned, we are also much more than concrete and steel. Beyond our infrastructure, we also provide tailor-made solutions. For instance, we develop indoor coverage solutions for different sizes of venues, such as stadiums, office buildings, airports, and tunnels. So this high-quality, seamless connectivity can be maintained throughout the experience. And I see my colleague Enrico Schadok here in the audience. A couple of weeks ago, he invited us to Berlin, where he showed us an office building where you could really get a sense of like a first-hand impression of what that seamless connectivity means For example, we started in the parking garage of the building, had full coverage, mobile coverage, went up through the elevators to the roof, and you had the entire experience in terms of connectivity. And I think this is something that more and more customers are expecting, and this is something that we as Vantage Towers want to help enable in more and more office buildings. And besides, we enable 5G mobile private networks with high bandwidth and low latency to ensure enterprises have improved performance and cost efficiency, and we provide higher flexibility to adapt to different use cases and IoT applications to deliver the best-in-class consistently. And now I want to come to something that is very close to the heart of our company, and that is sustainability. And I know for some, sustainability is just another buzzword, but trust me when I say that this is actually the DNA of our company, because our infrastructure sharing approach reduces the need for additional towers and thus limits the optical footprint of our infrastructure. And I think this is very important also to achieve the acceptance in municipalities and so on, because people want, how you can say this, you don't win a beautification award with a mobile tower. So I think it's important in municipalities to make an effort to reducing that optical footprint. I think we are doing that. And by doing that, meaning infrastructure sharing, we can be more efficient and conserve resources and also reduce carbon emissions. And last year, we reached a very important milestone in our very young company history, and that is that we are now using 100% or that 100% of the electricity that we use to operate our infrastructure is obtained from renewable energy sources. So that is, again, a really big milestone for us. But the story doesn't end here. We are looking for more and more ways to actually create energy on site. We are also deploying solar panels. I mean, that's something that is also very important, especially for our southern European markets where the sun shines a little bit more. But when I look out of the window, I think sun or solar panels can also work in Germany for quite a bit. But in Germany, we're also focusing on micro wind turbines. And we are also looking into ways of making hydrogen solutions a part of the equation. So I think we are also looking into that. And this fits into the overall strategy to drive a sustainable digitalization in Europe and to support our partners through technological innovation in the decarbonization and in also achieving their very own climate goals. And digitalization is not only the core of our business, but also drives sustainability. The speaker before me also mentioned it, but I want to also make that point. We also use digital twins, so these exact 3D representations of our physical sites that enable our tenants and partners to use our towers more efficiently and reduce the number of visits they have to make to the site, so fewer truck rolls. Also has a positive impact not only on the cost basis, but also on the carbon footprint. And last point regarding sustainability, we use metering across our sites to monitor energy consumption, because you can only save something when you actually monitor it. So that is also a big part of the solution. And then to further improve efficiency, we install efficient equipment. We deploy low power modes and identify and resolve energy wastage. So all in all, sustainability is really front and center for us. Okay, here we have a little image of what our infrastructure looks like, because in today's digitalized world, customers' expectation for better connectivity is increasing daily. And I mean, we've all been there the last 2 years when the world kind of went into lockdown, or in Germany, we had those contact restrictions. We all found ourselves pivoting to collaborate with our colleagues and customers over video calls, virtual conferences, and cloud-enabled shared documents. And it became quickly quite apparent just how vital one element was going to be in achieving this new normal that we are now living in, and that is connectivity. We as Vantage Towers enable that connectivity through our various assets. If you look at this image, starting from the left, you see those RTTs, rooftop towers, as they are called. And then on the very right, you see GBTs, ground-based towers, the ones you see when you drive on the Autobahn on the field. And in between, there's much going on. We have distributed antenna systems, short for DAS. And this is what I mentioned earlier. You want connectivity also indoor, and sometimes that doesn't work for various reasons. The concrete walls are too thick, and so on and so on. So we provide some solutions in bringing that mobile connectivity indoors, and we are also looking into ways of creating efficiencies in the small cell segment. Over the last 2 years, consistent connectivity and coverage have allowed people to do their jobs effectively from home. I myself can speak a lot about this. I joined Vantage Towers of February last year, so basically at the height of the Corona pandemic. So building relationships with your colleagues, forming a team and so on, it was just vitally important that you have good connectivity, especially like on team calls and so on. And if this wasn't there, I'm not sure how we as a society would have really gotten through this period. So I think we all saw how the value of connectivity. But on the flip side of the coin, the pandemic also highlighted where coverage has not been sufficient to enable homeschooling and home working. And typically, these are the more rural areas where the most significant barrier to providing these places with coverage has been and still is the cost for building infrastructure. It's just very expensive to build that infrastructure. So, and I think that's the right way where we as Vantage Towers come into play. Our role here is to provide infrastructure that can be used by many MNOs, and especially with regard to 5G. And in every decade, there's a new generation of technology, and there's higher speed, capacity, better quality, and lower latency. So we have listened to the presentations earlier in the big room. So there's not really a need for me to explain to you why 5G is so super important and what it can bring, but I still want to highlight some of the points that I think are worth thinking about. Well, 5G is first and foremost a technology for the B2B sector, and its multiplier effects will be felt in every industry, and there are already many promising use cases. We have heard about some of them this morning. I want to give you an example. Manufacturing, where 5G-enabled factories already report about 20 to 30% overall productivity gains, so that is a huge impact. But 5G can also fundamentally transform our health sector. I mean, I talked about rural areas, and more old people want to stay in that region, and fewer doctors are available. So I think telemedicine is something that is becoming increasingly important in the future. And 5G is also the prerequisite to digitize Germany's railway network, which will allow increased train capacity on tracks and support automatic train operation. So it will also revolutionize that part of the transportation sector. And last but not least, smart and precision farming through interconnected machinery will revolutionize agriculture. And this is key for the sector to become more sustainable and adapt to climate change. However, there will be a higher intensity of investment up to until 2025, with rollout primarily using existing sites. The reason being that they are the high traffic sites that warrant the first migration to 5G. We are also, of course, in talks with operators, and they tell us that they see a level of densification of their networks taking place in the 2025 to 2030 period. albeit a lower level of investment that we are seeing until 2025. And they've acquired much spectrum and invested heavily, so putting the spectrum to good use is vital. However, 5G goes along with smaller cells, I mean, that goes without saying, and so densification is required. So how do we accelerate network rollout? Well, said it already, but I think I want to make this point, really, it's infrastructure sharing. And just don't take my word for it. You can see in the middle, there's a quote from a Ernst & Young report from this year, where it states that a typical location of a wireless network operator managed by a TowerCo is about 40% more efficient than one managed by an MNO, resulting in economic savings of 31 billion euros across Europe in a decade. So I think that says quite a lot. But let me also add something from a legal and regulatory perspective. Again, no legal emphasis in this presentation, but faster network rollout also requires shorter building permit proceedings. And here we have seen some improvements in the past, but in my view, the steps that have been taken are not sufficient to ensure speedy rollout. I'm therefore quite happy to see that the Ministry of Digital and Transport is exploring new approaches to speed up permit procedures. We just need to look, for example, as I mentioned earlier, to other member states. My colleagues in Portugal, they tell me they can build a tower and get the permit in 30 days. So for me, as a German lawyer, that sounds really amazing. Here it takes sometimes more than a year. So there's really quite a striking discrepancies here. We as Vantage Towers are a neutral host. That's the term that everyone is using, and we are striving to host more and more customers. That is our business model, and that is not really rocket science, and we want to make this available faster, more efficiently. And this also not only includes traditional mobile network operators, but also players in the IoT segment. And as a neutral host, we're enabling a reduction of carbon emissions and freeing up CapEx for the MNOs because they need it for their broader 5G rollout. And as mentioned, we are also delivering indoor solutions, campus solutions, that are a crucial part of the end-to-end 5G rollout. Our journey as Vantage Towers does not end here. In fact, we will further build up our proposition by creating even more value for our customers. Again, we are a 5G superhost, and that is just the beginning. Wherever our customers need connectivity, indoor, outdoor, we will provide solutions accordingly. And we are not only building and operating towers, but also enabling, I just see that, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Sometimes it's hard. We are also building and operating towers, not only operating and building towers, but we are also in the business of connecting edge data centers and cost-effective infrastructure to deliver transformative IoT to rural agriculture operations to make this buzzword smart farming also a reality. We also enable cities, smart cities with sensors, smart poles, street furniture, and drones. And as mentioned earlier, sustainability is at the core of our business, and our efforts in this regard also contribute directly to achieving our very ambitious overall ESG goals. In coming to a close, if you need to take something with you today, it's the simple truth that 5G requires dense networks. And we, as Vantage Towers, as a TowerCo, we provide our infrastructure. We enable infrastructure sharing so that the MNOs and others can really roll out their networks much, much quicker. And as Vantage Towers, we are equipped and connected for a sustainable and digital Europe. I think we have an exciting future ahead of us, and Vantage Towers is looking forward to collaborating with many of you in the future. And for that, thanks for being here today, and have a nice day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christoph. This is another proof that legal people are super accurate. This was perfect timing. Thank you very much. Still, if there is a question still lingering, I think one we can squeeze in.
Thank you. My name is Axel Schulz. I have a quick question regarding the infrastructure sharing. You was talking about the meaning of it. And I've heard from a competitor side, it was not Deutsche, that they have an internal goal of a co-usage of 3.0. That means per ground-based tower, they will have at least 3 MNOs per tower. Do you have a similar goal for Vantage?
Master on? Yeah, we have quite ambitious goals, and at the moment, I think the last for the German market, the numbers were published recently. I don't want to lie, but I think it's 1.444. It's the tenancy ratio. But as you can imagine, we want to go beyond that. So 3.1, the 3.0 is very ambitious. But I mean, when you look in the market, we have now 4 mobile network operators. I mean, that is something that I think probably all TowerCos want to achieve, getting more and more MNOs on the infrastructure. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christoph.